Welcome, and thank you for choosing to hang with the PodRats. I'm Brayden. Today I'm joined by Christian and Hunter, and in this episode, we will be reviewing episode 6 of The House of the Dragon. But before we get into our review, you can go ahead and follow us on our socials on Twitter at @the_PodRats and on Instagram at the PodRats. You can also listen to these episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music, and watch us on YouTube. The links for all that fun stuff will be in the description of wherever you're finding this. And now that I got all the plugs out the way, let's go ahead and get into our discussion of this week's episode, The Princess and the Queen.
You will be our king. We are the blood of old Valyria.
But for them, you surrender what you should not.
So this episode was directed by Miguel Sapochnik. We talked about him before in previous episodes. He is the co-showrunner for House of the Dragon Season 1 along with Ryan Condal. He also directed Episode 1 prior to this. And when you think about everything that happens in Episode 6, it's quite apt that the showrunner chooses to direct this himself. I feel like probably in the hands of a lesser director, someone not as experienced within Game of Thrones or as heavily invested into House of the Dragon, that this could go poorly with the big infamous time jump that we finally get and the actor changes and all the mini character introductions as well as dragon introductions, that someone who's not as equipped as someone like Miguel Sapochnik, that this could be more jarring than it is at some points. And I do think he did a really good job with smoothing that 10-year time jump as best as possible. That being said, this is the most pilot in episode 6 in a season of a show could probably ever feel. That's what I was thinking while we were watching it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a very important episode. I feel like for a lot of casual viewers, this could really turn some people off if it's not done well. And also, sorry for the casual viewers, this is where all of the names, you just decide not to know them if you're a casual viewer with all the different character introductions we got.
Yeah, episode 6, and they introduced 20 more names for you to learn. But yeah, the casual viewer is a good point, especially because like my brother watches this show, but like he doesn't, keep up with it like outside of Sunday nights. And he asked me like 2 days ago, he was like, "Hey, did you hear that the next episode of Game of Thrones, there's going to be like this actor change and they're just replacing everybody?" And I was like, "You mean like they're like time jumping?" And he was like, "Is that what they're doing?" Because like people don't know that.
Yeah, right.
They just heard like from word of mouth that the actors are changing. So a lot of people don't even know what's happening. And yeah, I feel like there's quite the shock, especially because it just throws you in immediately. Mm-hmm. But I think that it worked for me, kind of just being thrown in immediately, because it immediately just kind of threw all the, I don't know if this will work or not, because you're just immediately immersed in what is happening, because you got a birth going on. And you know, okay, we're having another Ray baby. But I thought that for me, just kind of being thrown into it abruptly, it worked just because I didn't really have time to think about the time jump. I was just kind of trying to figure out what was happening instead of worrying about the actor changes and all that stuff.
We also follow this really closely compared to most people, I feel like.
Yeah.
So we're at this point, I feel like we're super familiar with all these characters, and we may do more of a deep dive than the casual viewer, like you were saying. So it could be really confusing, especially with names.
The names are a big one. I mean, people had the Game of Thrones trouble with, remembering names in like the early seasons.
Yeah. I mean, this is 7 kids probably in this episode, new kids. So,
and I feel like with House of the Dragon so far, they've kind of just, they kind of expect you to know, because, most of the people that are watching this have seen Game of Thrones. So they kind of expect you to go in realizing that you're going to have a lot of names to learn. And I feel like they don't really feel as bad about throwing characters at you and just expecting you to kind of either put the time in outside of the episode to try and learn names, or just, go along with the ride and then just refer to them as whatever nickname you want to give them.
Just rewatch it and maybe you'll get it.
Yeah, like the kids right now, their names aren't as important.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The main story that is being told in season 1 so far is of Alicent, Rhaenyra, Viserys, and Daemon.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly certain everyone that watches the show consistently knows At least those 4 names.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all they need to know about the kids is that they have kids, and then maybe like Aegon, because Aegon is a big puzzle piece in all of this.
And I mean, they did focus in on him more than the other kids in this episode.
Yeah, they did.
So I do think they did a good job of that. I feel like going forward, they are focusing on the kids that they're probably going to, showcase a little more moving forward.
Yeah, but I think they do. They kind of hone in because, I mean, they know what they're doing here. They do, like you said, the characters that we do need to know the names of, they've really hammered home, especially in the past 5 episodes. And in this episode, yeah, the one kid that we do get kind of hammered into is Aegon, with kind of how big of a shithead he is and just the mannerisms that he has. So you kind of learn his name kind of quickly, for better or for worse. So
this episode opens up with Rhaenyra giving birth.
yes.
And we're not sure at first, but we're later told that this is her 3rd child, Joffrey.
Sir Joffrey.
As named by Laenor, very rudely.
Yeah, very abruptly.
Yeah, he just decided that their kid their kid was named
loosely.
Joffrey.
Yeah.
So, but Rhaenyra already has 2 other kids. She has Jacaerys is her eldest, and then the middle child is now Lucerys. And these are all Valerians because she is married to Laenor.
Mm-hmm.
So
Valerian blood through and through.
Valerian blood.
For those at home, you can call them Jason Luke. Those are their canon nicknames.
Yes.
Canon.
Not just us. That's what they are in the books.
Yeah, I guess we do have a habit of nicknaming people
Yeah, we
rather
do.
abruptly. So
Ray and Laenor had Jace, Luke, and Joff. There you go.
job. I really liked the opening with the birth scene. I kind of talked about it a little earlier. Also, that unbroken shot. The episode opens with a over 5-minute unbroken shot, which immediately, like 30 seconds in, while it was happening, I was like, man, I hope this goes on for a long ass time. And then when they step out of like the bed chamber with the kid and that whole scene just walking through like the castle and everything. Oh, that was so good. I love that so much.
That was really good. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Talk about keeping you like immersed into
Yeah.
the world, or like jumping you right in.
Yeah.
With no cuts. That's a way to do it.
That's kind of what I was talking about earlier with you didn't really have time to think about the actor changes, because my brain was kind of on, wow, like this is kind of the most immersed we've really ever kind of been in the Game of Thrones universe, just because we weren't going from like, a bed chamber out to like the courtyard or something in just a cut. Just them walking through and like having all the people like in the hallways and stuff, like mumbling and stuff as they're walking by. I thought that was so cool. And just like having all their little, their shit talking as they're walking by, people mumbling about, the kid and stuff. I thought that was so, so cool.
It was also really cool because you get to see all these different places within the castle, like in different scenes, but you never know where they are,
like in relation to the other parts.
Yeah, for sure. Because like she goes up the stairs, and when she's walking by the Godswood area on that like ledge, like that's where she was talking to Rhaenys earlier in the season.
Yeah, and
that would
seeing
be
it
10 years ago now, but
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing it and seeing all the stuff in relation to, like you said, I don't think we've ever really seen something like that in the Game of Thrones universe. And I thought that was really, really interesting to see. It's kind of like like a video game aspect.
Yeah, it was.
Where like you are walking through this, and that's why it's so immersive. I'm looking at an article, and it says that I believe it is 2.5 minute shots, and they just cleverly hid one cut in. There's probably like, micro cuts and stuff that they got in. But yeah, I think opening this episode, which like Brayden said a second ago, this like kind of soft pilot episode, this reboot with a like long continuous tracking shot like that, I think there's a lot of smartness behind that, just because it immediately kind of makes you have to focus on this because you're kind of captivated by this long track shot. So
Miguel Sapochnik loves his oneers too.
Yeah.
Does them all the time.
So in this one long shot, the baby has been requested to be brought to Queen Alicent as soon as it is born.
Right when he was out the womb.
As soon as Joffrey came out, he was requested to be delivered to the queen.
I didn't appreciate those sound effects, by the way.
Squelching.
Oh no!
Sculpting.
So much squelching going on in that scene.
But yeah, sorry. We'll move on from that birth scene.
All that
We've
squelching.
talked about it enough.
Yeah, his presence was requested right away. Why do you think his presence was requested so quickly?
I think the obvious answer is Alicent wants that baby dead.
Yeah. Alicent, it really does seem, in this 10 years that's passed, really hammer home that it's been 10 years. It seems that she has kind of settled in as a true player of the game, if you will. She's very, very confident in, what she wants, and she kind of seems like she's going to do anything in her power to get it. She's kind of thrown out the I want to be a good person aspect and kind of really just leaning into I'm going to do whatever is best for me.
100%. She also now has 2 kids since the last episode. So she had Aegon, he's a baby, and now she has Helena and Aemond.
Good old Aemond.
We don't see much of Helena other than one scene, I think, where
Yeah.
I don't even know what she was just brushing her hair, right? I mean,
She had a little fucking centipede. She's a bug girl.
a little weird, a little kooky.
She seems like she's the the introverted oddball of the group. I mean, hey, if you're a character in a movie or a TV show and you're playing with bugs, it's because the showrunner really wants you to realize, that this is a weird person. So
Reminds me of is it Looney Luna from Harry Potter?
yeah, you're
Little
right.
Loopy.
Yeah, she's
kinda.
kind of quirky in her own little way.
I don't know. We didn't get to see too much of her. She might be.
Yeah.
She might be more than we're making her out to be. But we did see some of Aemond, a little bit of him being bullied a little bit by Aegon and Jacaerys.
Yeah, Aegon is kind of a little dirtbag, and Aemon kind of seems like the runt of the group. He's kind of weak. He can't really fight very well, and Aegon kind of seems like he's the big brother of both the Valerian kids and also the Targaryen kids. So
Aegon's also the spoiled brat out of all of those.
Oh yeah,
You can easily tell.
Oh yeah, especially because he's been promised. He is the son of the queen. He has a lot more riding on him because he's the firstborn for sure. So I think that naturally he's spoiled for that.
mm-hmm.
So at one point in the middle of the episode, Sir Criston is training all the kids. He's been given the reins to maybe train the kids in how to fight with swords and shit. So,
Yeah.
However, he does tend to favor Aegon and Aemond in his training.
Yeah, it seems like Kristen was kind of given the reins over the Targaryen kids, and then Harwin was given the reins over the Valerian kids. They both kind of have different teaching methods. You see that heat up in that scene where they're teaching them, and they both start questioning each other's teaching methods over the kids. Because, I mean, the two groups of kids are very different. The Targaryen kids, and I mean, mostly just Aegon, but you can tell that they kind of behave like Targaryens. They kind of behave like they're hot shit. And then the Valerian kids are very much, they're kind of just chilling being kids. They're not really worried about, being royal or anything like that. They're kind of just vibing. And you see that in the little tuft that Aegon has when he fights Jace, both eldest against eldest. And I feel like that was really just a dick measuring competition that Kristen had with Harwin, because
definitely.
they didn't want to fight each other, obviously.
Yeah.
That would look bad in public perception.
That would just look horrible.
Yes. So
They
they
would
just
never do that.
So you just say, okay, here's my people against your people.
Hey, Jace was putting the moves on him for a little bit.
Jace did look a lot better than I thought he would. He had a little rocky of a start, but
If he was a little bigger, I think he could have taken him.
yeah, Aegon is much bigger than all the other kids, and yeah, Jace, for being the eldest one of the Valerians, he's kind of small. He doesn't have as much build to him.
Yeah.
But I think Kristen knew what he was doing when he, said, all right, well, let's just have mine fight yours then.
Yeah.
Because he knew that Aegon would kind of roll over Jace, but
Yeah, he did. That kind of brings up what a heel turn by Sir Criston. This is not the same Sir Criston that we had in the first 5 episodes.
no, he had a lot of off-screen character development going on, man. He was having some leftover emotions felt from being denied by Rhaenyra, man. So we see that in this really front and center. He's really taken a bond to Alicent in this. You know, could be emotional, could be just some romantic stuff going on. Guess we don't know yet. But you can tell that he's kind of turned into like a loyal servant to the queen.
Yeah.
Much, much more than he was in the first couple of episodes that we saw him.
And I mean, last episode we mentioned that Alicent might kind of take him under her wing because of
She's
the
got
things
the
she
blackmail
knew.
on
Yeah,
her.
and I think that that's exactly what happened over the course of the 10 years. And I think Sir Criston maybe grew to resent Rhaenyra for that, especially watching Rhaenyra, have 3 children with another man. That's
Hey,
kind of
man, he got it offered first.
He did.
He got the first offer. He just didn't want it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
I'm sure Alicent has also been in his ear, kind of spewing stuff about Rhaenyra
Oh, for sure.
and about how terrible of a person she is. And Kristen does seem like kind of an impressionable guy. In the first couple episodes, we kind of get that vibe where he kind of just seems like he'd throw everything out the window for one person very quickly. So I'm sure Alicent has been in his ear kind of spewing stuff to him. And that's kind of why he's immediately just thrown everything out, I guess, and
Yeah.
become a loyal servant to Alicent so quickly.
Yeah.
Well, I say quickly. I mean, it's been 10 years. So
Quickly in our eyes.
Quickly in
One
our
episode.
eyes.
One
Yeah.
episode.
So the only other thing that really happens on this side of the storyline would be Rhaenyra proposing that Jake and Helena get married to merge their family blood. Jace?
Jace, there you go. man.
Jake.
You got it.
Jace. Sorry.
It's all right. Man. It'll happen.
Hey, Jake is a good nickname too.
Yeah.
But I feel like Jason Jake would get kind of confusing.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this was a strategic plan by Rhaenyra. I think she feels like she might be losing the battle at the moment, and I think this might be a strategic play to ensure that her son is going to be named the king. Because if he's married to the daughter of the queen and king, then that might be
It's quite the power move.
that's a more linear bloodline than maybe just Aegon.
Yeah. Yeah, this episode really did kind of stress home. It's very, very much Game of Thrones, this episode. There's so much just political drama going on. There's so much family tree stuff happening. There's so much these people need to get together so that we can have this power couple, that kind of thing happening. With that like proposal that Rhaenyra puts up, you can kind of see it in Alicent's eyes, like, that she has seen this a million times before. And especially because she knows Rhaenyra as a person. And she knows when she is genuinely proposing something versus, the Game of Thrones, I'm playing the game situation.
Oh, yeah.
But hey, Viserys thought it was a great plan.
Of course he did.
I don't think it was entirely just purely strategic on Rhaenyra's point. I do think it does show that Rhaenyra is not completely given up on trying to fix things with Alicent, but it very much does show that Alicent wants nothing to do with Rhaenyra after all these 10 years.
Yeah, it's very much different from the last episode where Alicent kind of had that like glimmer of hope in her eyes, I guess, where you could still mend that friendship. And Alicent in this episode there was no more hope. It was kind of just, it's done, and that's in the past.
Yeah, she's very much entrenched in what her father told her, what Otto told her last episode. I feel like she's only just thought about that threat of her kids being killed by Rhaenyra, even though it doesn't seem like Rhaenyra has, at least in the one episode we've seen so far, had given any thought to possibly killing her kids. But it's just something that you can tell Alicent thinks about very frequently.
Yeah. Yeah, she does.
And also to add that, Alicent is still clearly jealous of Rhaenyra, as Rhaenyra has, in her eyes, been able to do whatever she wants as she's had kids with Sir Harwin Strong, and she still has to bear kids with Viserys. Two very different sides of the coin, that one, if you do. Strong and Viserys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think I'd prefer Mr. Strong. I don't know about you.
Are you sure, man? I don't know.
Dude, Viserys is a cool guy.
He's looking a little crusty.
He's a little feeble.
He is missing an arm now.
I loved how just blindly I love my kid he was in this episode.
He's a very jolly man.
Very, very jolly in his old age,
Yes.
Viserys has become. He's kind of just, he doesn't really give, he's kind of all politicked out in his old age. So he's just decided that I'm along for the ride.
I think we're all surprised he's still alive, to be honest.
Yeah.
After his tumble in the last episode.
Yeah, they really wanted you to think he was offed. But hey, he's a very jolly old man. So he's nice to have, especially because all the characters in this episode are not very jolly. Everyone's kind of having a terrible time.
Yeah.
Except Laenor. Laenor's having a good time with Carl, his new guy. So
True.
shout out Laenor. Cool guy.
Yeah.
Never met him.
So, Brayden, you brought up Mr. Harwin Strong. The Strongs held quite a big role in this episode. So, Larys, we thought he was up to something in that last episode, and we definitely see that he was.
He is, in fact, up to something.
He has been scheming over the last 10 years.
Yeah, you can tell over this time period that has passed that Larys really has kind of strengthened his little finger roll with Alicent, and he's kind of gained the trust of Alicent. Alicent kind of looks at him. It kind of seems like the dude who's in the nitty gritty political side of the dealings. Larys has also really leaned into not really hiding that he's in it for himself more so than he's in it for, Alicent. Because whenever Alicent gives this proposal and starts mentioning along the lines of, hey man, you should go fucking murder your dad and your brother. Not as straightforward. And then he goes, okay, yeah, sure, man. That's a great idea, actually.
He is the ultimate suck up at the moment to do whatever he can to get in the queen's pocket.
Yes.
And he did do the unthinkable, and he burned down his home
Yeah.
with his brother and father in the home. So that's pretty fucked up, man.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I don't
he's
think
vicious.
Alicent quite realized who she was allying herself with
Yeah.
until that happened. I think when she realized that he was willing to do that to his own family,
Mm-hmm.
that she has quite a dangerous person on her hands
Yeah.
that she now owes a favor to. In a
Yep.
sense.
She is indebted to him now. Very big debt.
Yeah. Debt to her and Mr. Otto,
Yeah.
as Otto is now going to be, it's kind of insinuated that he's going to be reselected as Hand.
I hope he falls off his horse and breaks his neck on the way to King's Landing.
Yeah.
I hope so too, but I have a feeling Otto is going to be the Hand in the next episode. But yeah, Larys has definitely moved up there on the list of people to not fuck with.
Yeah, he's on the totem pole of the players of the game.
Yeah.
Also kind of sad just because Harwin, pretty cool guy in this episode.
He was a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, and then immediately they just tear him
Two
away
cool
from
guys.
Man, you find
Out just like that.
him. Yeah.
You find out he's got 3 kids with the main character. He's genuinely like a good parent
he was
figure.
He was holding little Joffrey, and he was like so happy.
Oh.
And he gave the little like look to Rhaenyra about how happy he was.
He was training the kids so
He
well.
was training
like,
them.
Gosh, he's just a perfect dude in this episode, and
just strip them away from
God.
us.
The King's only decent advisor.
yes,
Yeah.
Gone.
poor
Just like that.
Lionel.
Lionel
R.I.P.
deserved better.
See,
He
man,
did.
last episode, I think I was talking about how I thought Lionel was up to something.
Dude, he's just a
And he
good
was just
person.
being a good guy. But hey, good people don't last in the realm, man.
You were almost right, though. You
We were-
let the Larys.
Yeah,
The Larys
yeah.
was there.
Yeah. So on the completely opposite side of the world,
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
in Pentos, we have Daemon and Lena I don't know if they're married, but they now have 2 children, Bela and Rhaena.
Not Rhaenyra.
No, not to be confused with Rhaenyra.
Not to be confused with Rhaenyra.
No. So we kind of saw them flirting at the wedding in the last episode. And
everyone knows what that means.
Flirting
means marriage.
Flirting means marriage and children.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Clearly, when you do 10-year time jumps, I guess. But Bela and Rhaena are both pretty old. I mean, they're probably almost in their teens, right?
They look close in age to maybe like Aemond.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they look like, maybe like, I don't know, 10 years old.
All the kids are probably similar age.
Yeah.
Couldn't give you an exact age because they're already older than what they're supposed to be in the books. So
Yeah.
But it looked like Daemon and Lena were having a good marriage.
Yeah,
They were happy.
I thought so too. I thought that it was kind of a different side of Daemon where, I don't know, it was kind of like you could see as much as he can display of a soft side, it kind of seemed like he actually did like Lena.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, Daemon is still Daemon at the end of the day, I feel like. And he's kind of just not a good person.
Right. And I mean, you kind of see that when I think was it Bela? No, it was Rhaena that Lena was talking to in front of the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, Daddy doesn't talk to me.
Yeah.
So he's not necessarily a present father.
Yeah.
But it did seem like him and Lena were getting along as far as getting along with Daemon goes. Clearly, they're still together after all these years of having kids, so something must have gone right for them.
Yeah, and they seemed kind of happy.
Yeah. But Lena was pregnant with her 3rd child, and, just like Aemma in episode 1.
Birth didn't go too well.
Nope. It was either going to be die by the blade, or I guess die by the flame.
Damn.
And Lena went out there and commanded her dragon Vhagar, who is the largest dragon.
She was a big girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't even talk about Vhagar. That's our introduction to one of the oldest dragons.
Yeah.
in Game of Thrones right there.
I thought she had a super cool design, especially we got that cool close-up whenever Lena was trying to get her to offer.
Mm-hmm. That was sad. You could tell the dragon, could tell that Vhagar did not want to do that.
It was pretty cool. Just because we do know that, dragons are just as intelligent as humans in the Game of Thrones universe. And you could kind of see the reluctance, and especially because dragons are so blind to their master's commands and they just obey them. But there is so much, I don't want to do this behind those dragon eyes. Mm-hmm. It was so sad.
It was very sad.
It's very hard to read Daemon there.
Yes.
Because he does show up exactly when it's going down, and he sees Lena just burning up. But it's kind of hard. I couldn't tell in his face. I feel like he's very subdued.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure exactly what he was feeling.
I honestly feel like it was like sadness, but also mixed with kind of relief.
I think he also probably respected it too.
Yes, but he also kind of respects the going out in a blaze of glory.
I mean, in his situation, I feel like I would almost be glad she did that, because then it's not on him.
He doesn't have to make the decision.
It's not his decision, because at that point, she was going to die either way. And I'm glad that Daemon made the choice that Viserys didn't.
Yeah.
And Viserys didn't give Aemma a choice of how she wanted to die, and Daemon did.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think Daemon and Lena kind of got along so well too, is because especially with Daemon, we know Daemon is a very independent character. He doesn't really like to be tied down. And from the vibes that we got in this episode, Lena kind of seemed like had that as well, because she wasn't really just blindly following whatever Daemon was asking her and proposing. And I think that's probably why they kind of had this successful bond that they had, I guess, as successful as it can be when she, at the end of it burns herself. But yeah, I think Lena was an independent woman, and I feel like how Brayden mentioned with he kind of respected it, is because Daemon himself is also kind of an independent man, and he, hard decision to make. And I mean, it's kind of an honorable one, I guess.
yeah, for sure.
I also get the feeling that they were in Pentos for so long because Daemon didn't want to go back to Westeros because he didn't want to see Rhaenyra with someone else and have other kids. I feel like there was that going on there.
See, what's crazy now is Harwin dead, Lena dead, Daemon single, Rhaenyra single.
Well,
she's not, but
she's in
she
an
doesn't
open-
have a lover
She's in
anymore.
an open marriage.
Yeah, so I feel like
and it's less weird now because the actor's older.
they are older, and Daemon married and had kids with somebody younger than Rhaenyra, so I don't think he really cared.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Daemon has to come back now, and with Rhaenyra being single and them not having, maybe, I don't know if they've seen each other in 10 years, maybe not, but that could be that could get spicy again.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we do know that Daemon does love his sister and more than, or his niece in more than a couple ways. So, yeah, I think at the end of the day, then he'll probably, I feel like he also kind of doesn't want to give in and have to go back home, so to speak, you know?
Yeah.
It's like when you move out from your house and then you don't want to, you move out from your parents, you know, and then you don't want to have to eat your pride and move back in.
Now he has 2 kids, though, that he has to bring with him and take care of. Like,
Yeah.
they don't have a mother anymore. That's going to be...
He's got a lot of baggage with him now.
That's going to be interesting.
And I feel like he's going to have to eat his pride and say, all right, guess I'll go back and live with Viserys.
Oh, God. I wonder what he's going to say when he sees Viserys' old crusty face.
Yeah. And Daemon has been ousted by the king a couple times now. So
that don't mean nothing.
Hey, Daemon looks significantly better than Viserys does. They aged very differently.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they have. Daemon looks great now, man. He's got the long hair back.
He hasn't been dealing with them politics. That's what politics will do to you.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Viserys is stressed out 24/7.
Exactly. Daemon's just been vibing, man.
Well, what do you guys think is going to happen moving forward? I think that they were foreshadowing that Rhaena might get Vhagar. When Lena and her were talking at the fire, she was talking about how her egg just hasn't hatched yet.
Yeah,
And
she was.
Lena kind of told her, like, sometimes they don't. It's 50-50 chance, and you can still get a dragon. You just have to tame it.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, you know, command it like they did earlier in the episode.
Yeah, and like Rhaena shares the blood
Yeah.
with Lena, so I don't think it would be that big of a change for Vhagar to, you know, just move down the family tree.
Yeah, I definitely think that Vhagar will be Rhaena Valerian, or Targaryen. Rhaena Targaryen's dragon.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the other side, what do you think we're gonna see in the next episode in King's Landing?
Who knows? We don't know the time jumps.
True.
Yeah.
We don't know if there'll be one. There might be. There might not be.
We do know Rhaenyra is going to be in Dragonstone. That's where she ended up at the end of the episode with her kids and Laenor.
And Carl. Don't forget Carl.
And
Don't
Carl
forget Carl
Corey.
and Q.
Carl's going to.
Oh,
Carl with the Q.
But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen as far as what's going to happen in King's Landing, because I think we might get more Otto.
Mm-hmm.
But
Love it.
other than that, everyone that has conflict right now is kind of in different places.
Yeah.
So not to
Setting
say
up
that that's going to be the same in whatever time jump we get next, but that's where it's at right now. So we'll see.
They're setting up the House of Cards and just waiting for it to fall, man, in a later episode.
But hey, I might not know what happens, but I will tell you what. The PodRats will be there when it does.
True.
That is right.
We also made a cameo on this episode, if you noticed.
We did. There was a rat on the mantle.
Yep. We have an ongoing deal with HBO, actually.
Yes, we do. All right. With that being said, we'll be back next week with episode 7 of House of the Dragon. Until then, put yourself first and take care of each other. Bye, guys.